Benjamin Bernard Dunlap, in calling you to the Wofford College presidency, it is fitting that we recognize through ceremony the significance of your obligations. This is an hour of promise rather than an hour of achievement. You enter the door of a noble vocation of leadership, a high and holy charge. Benjamin Bernard Dunlap, what say you to this charge?
With true humility and the devotion to the office, I accept the obligations required of me, and I seize the opportunities given me. Here, I renew and redouble my commitment to Wofford College, to building upon the great legacies of its past, and to leading its communal search for meaningful significance for its future. As the selected representative of multitudes of others, embracing the high cause of this college, I devote them and myself to the exhilarating life of the mind and the fulfilling life of service to God and neighbor. So help me God. History both defines us and challenges us to transcend what we have been. Wofford has done that. But there is still a place for such an institution that can learn as well as teach the great truths of democracy and Christianity, that matches knowledge with faith, livelihood with spirituality. Yes, there is no question about that. Coincidentally, perhaps, I wrote my doctoral dissertation on William Morris, the 19th century polymath who was studying at Oxford at the very time Wofford College was being founded, and who subsequently became not only a poet, essayist, and fiction writer of considerable renown, but who also revolutionized British taste in such pursuits as architecture, printing, and design of everything from type fonts and paper making to fabrics, rugs, wallpapers, and furniture. Well, in many respects, it seems to me Wofford College is the Morris and Company of higher education in the state of South Carolina. A small college like Wofford, liberal arts in its orientation, exists for a single purpose upon which all its energy and resources are focused, the teaching of undergraduates, a task we undertake not so much in competition with the larger public institutions as in consort with them and counterpoint to them. The difference, as with Morris and Company, is not merely with regard to the handmade as opposed to the mass-produced, or even to the carefully crafted as opposed to the casually supervised, but in the emphasis on educating the whole person as opposed to the vocational self, on the satisfaction of the teacher-scholar as professor, one who professes more than the skills he has mastered, who invests more of himself in the college community than the workday requires, whose sustained and intimate contact with his students reveals his values and aspirations as well as his knowledge. Above all, the small liberal arts college is distinguished by its insistence on the importance of character and service as well as intellect, on combining the arts, humanities, and sciences with religion so as to instigate a lifelong quest for understanding, on its concern with what the students are when they graduate as opposed to what they were when they applied for admission. Authentic community is a crucial part of that distinction, not the platitude that appears in every institutional brochure, but the day-to-day, hour-to-hour reality of living together and sharing a common ideal. What this means for every Wofford student is an education that rests upon a broad-based core curriculum, complemented by a solid mastery of the discipline or disciplines of one's choice, and extended still further at every level of study by an emphasis on integrative learning, an emphasis that despite a widespread capitulation to what is merely vocational throughout the world of higher ed, best suits our graduates for the realities they will encounter. For it is this that enables them to make connections, to cross traditional disciplinary boundaries, and negotiate a world no longer divided so neatly into categories of endeavor. The public universities are essential to our purpose, if only because they are good and getting better, cheap and getting cheaper. Independent institutions are compelled to be efficient, obliged to innovate, above all, driven to invest wisely, combining their assets for maximum results, and in the process, serving as models for the bigger institutions. In effect, though we pretend otherwise, we need them and they need us. Without public institutions, there would be a tendency for their private counterparts to grow smug and static. Without independent colleges, the effect on public institutions would be catastrophic. First, in the resulting financial demands on the state's resources, and ultimately, I am convinced by my own experience, on the product they deliver. But as I stand here before you today, I can't help thinking that there truly was a vital connection between the example of William Morris and my own career, at least that portion of it that has brought me somewhat improbably to this moment and this particular challenge. It reverberates in my memory with another such moment, 99 years ago, as Henry Nelson Snyder savored the aftermath of his own inauguration. The guests had gone, he wrote. The children were in bed asleep. The exercises of the morning, the congratulations, the warm voices of friends promising support and cooperation, the youthful enthusiasm of students over their president had melted into silence. The familiar summer winds whispered in the leaves. The fireflies were doing their best, and the light of the stars seemed close enough to mingle with theirs. We were talking things over. What had been placed into our hands? Just what sort of trust had we accepted? Suddenly daunted, he recalled his great predecessors, whose portraits now hang with Snyder's own, and the 5 other men who succeeded him, Joab Lassane, the latest among them. And Dr. Snyder continued, I decided that in men like these was an endowment that accounted in part for the extraordinary influence of this little college in the number and quality of the men, and we should add women, it turned out. Men who, though few, represented the important leadership of South Carolina. Whiteman, Shipp, Duncan, Smith, Kilgo. Through them, I knew whoever succeeded to the presidency was heir to a spiritual wealth that had infused into the life of this college worthy standards of character, conduct, and service, guided by the religious motives of a great church. I know I became very humble when I thought of myself and them, but I did highly resolve to do the best I could to carry on in education what their leadership had stood for at Wofford. I too, Dr. Snyder. I too. Thank you very much.
Scripture passage from the book of Joel at the beginning of today's ceremonies says that your old men shall dream dreams and your young shall see visions. I want to speak this morning for both dreams and vision and the products of vision. The funds from these 700 noble donors have been channeled through the best of architects, construction contractors, and furnishing suppliers to sculpt a very special scientific edifice. This center is already noted for its emphasis on interdisciplinary learning, wedding the humanities and the sciences, wedding science and non-science majors, and wedding technology and minds. This building is special for its conspicuous display of learning. Students are in evidence day and evening, hard at study in all of Wofford's academic disciplines, in its great Oaks Hall, its laboratories, its study cubicles, the players' corners, and its enticing Acorn Cafe. This building is setting new standards by which Wofford's facilities of the future will be evaluated, built, and renovated, complete with cross-disciplinary settings and state-of-the-art technology, all user-friendly to the life of the mind. Intellectual curiosity and imagination make for educational excellence. Excitement flourishes when we put our hearts and minds and souls and resources into the breeding places of imagination. Such a place is Wofford College. President Dunlap, as a voice for the artisans and donors who, by creating the center, have added to Wofford's momentum, both imagination and inspiration, I now ask you to receive from us an enlarged replica of the technological identification card that opens to you the main doors to a great building, a great learning center, and an ever greater future for Wofford. Good picture of you, too. Bernie, we urge you to use the key to this new science center with pride in the past and anticipation for the future, and to begin to enjoy and relish the great breakthroughs that will take place therein and flow therefrom.